Phony. And totally weird. Gavin's hands. It's time for Gavin's hands.
The notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort.
Gavin Newsom strides in like California's own James Bond, polished, confident, and sporting enough hair gel to withstand a hurricane. He radiates that can't-touch-me energy, basking in the spotlight as if it were made for him alone. Then comes Tyrus, a towering figure with the power of a linebacker and the sting of a truth-teller. When he speaks, the room goes silent. This isn't just criticism, it's a full-on roast, sharp enough to cut deep. And trust me, things are about to blow up.
What I saw, it looked to me like he was negotiating with a deaf prostitute.
The myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days.
California glitters like the ultimate American postcard, sun-soaked beaches, rolling waves, and non-stop glamour. It's a place where mornings begin on the surf and nights glow beneath rooftop lights, Kale's smoothie in hand. But strip away the shiny surface and the illusion cracks fast. The Golden State starts to feel less like paradise and more like a chaotic Netflix documentary gone off the rails.
You can watch the tape. Yes! He literally goes, I want some of this, then you do some of this, and I'll do some of that back to you, and then we'll do this, and then I'll pay you, and then we'll do it again.
True.
And then she kept saying, no. Okay, how about this? You do this one first, then we do this one, then we give a little back and forth.
If you're vibing with this takedown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you'd think. These days, the streets look like scenes ripped straight out of Mad Max. Taxes hit harder than a heavyweight, and people are fleeing the state like it's a competitive sport. And right in the center of the chaos stands Gavin Newsom, looking like he just stepped out of a GQ spread. Perfect hair, perfect smile, and not a clue in sight. While everyone else is struggling, he remains untouched, treating the collapse around him like nothing more than a backdrop for his next photo op.
Tyrus, did he leave out anything? I think there's about 100 other reasons too.
Well, it's not his words when he speaks.
Yeah.
You have to watch him closely. And some genius decided not to film him any lower than the shoulder.
Yes, did you? Yes.
So what did he do?
You couldn't see the hands.
No, but he sent more.
He delivers speeches like he's headlining a Hollywood blockbuster. Dramatic pauses, sweeping hand gestures, and that confident grin that says, "Relax, I've got this." But here's the plot twist. While Newsom plays the role of California's leading man, the whole show has turned into one long blooper reel. Homelessness keeps rising, businesses are escaping like it's a fire drill, and everyday people are left wondering why they're paying Beverly Hills prices to live in what feels like the next Gotham City sequel.
I'll be in the car.
Yes, I think you've done enough this evening. You can take the rest of the week off.
Thank you.
Charlie,
We've all been there, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, it's noisy in the city.
Every time I look, I just see him going. Sorry.
You know, another option it could be, because he's doing the whole rebrand with the podcast and he's trying to...
Then Tyrus steps in, and that's when the real show starts. He's not here for scripted lines or polite half-truths. He's the kind of guy who hits with unfiltered honesty and the force of a heavyweight punch. Where Newsom shines with polish, Tyrus counters with grit. Where Newsom relies on hair gel, Tyrus brings hard reality. Picture it. Newsom strutting into the spotlight, chest out, hair glistening under its own halo, boasting about California's golden progress. Meanwhile, San Francisco and Los Angeles, once glittering icons, have become open-air case studies in chaos. Tyrus doesn't sugarcoat it. He cuts straight through the fantasy. How can America's so-called paradise look like a live-action zombie movie? Newsom promised utopia, but what he delivered feels a whole lot more like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
He's negotiating with the deaf prostitute.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
More likely.
California, while you stop by. 2 shows, you should be able to do that.
Hey, you know what? Real funny. So the other night, I got like 3 weeks ago. Time flies when you work. I get a text at 2 o'clock in the morning from the president who says, "Hey, bro, I just filled California up with water. Governor's pissed," and sent pictures. LOL post. Who doesn't love this president?
Let's talk business. There was a time when California was the crown jewel of innovation, home to Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and Napa Valley. It was the dream. But under Newsom's watch, that dream's turning into an exit plan. Companies are fleeing faster than reality show contestants finding out The Bachelor still lives with his mom. Headquarters are disappearing, jobs are vanishing, and everyone's heading to Texas, Florida, even Nevada. When people would rather face desert heat than California taxes, that says it all. And who calls it out? Tyrus, naturally. He looks at the mass exodus and says what everyone's been thinking. If people are running from paradise, maybe it's not paradise anymore. Remember when Newsom ordered everyone to stay home, mask up, and sacrifice for the greater good? Regular Californians were rationing toilet paper, giving themselves haircuts, and saying goodbye to loved ones over Zoom, while Newsom was whining and dining with lobbyists under golden chandeliers like a scene straight out of The Great Gatsby.
Watch it. Look at the blinking. Blink. Look. Meet me at the house. Like, he's blinking. He's sending. I'm getting there. Hey, just so you know, I'm not wearing pants.
Ew.
And then, look, he's blinking. And then eventually, the camera guy realizing that he's signaling him, so he gets appalled, leans back, camera comes down, and then we're back to this. I'll do this for you. You do this for me a little. So he's saying whatever he's going to say. There it is. See? They couldn't hold him back. He's like, I'm not on film. Oh, I'm not. Nope.
That infamous dinner became the ultimate symbol of his leadership. Rules for the people, perks for the king. And Tyrus doesn't just point it out. He tears into it with surgical precision. He paints the scene so clearly, you can practically hear the silverware clinking. While everyday Californians were surviving on reheated pizza in sweatpants, Newsom was swirling fine wine and proclaiming, "We're all in this together." The hypocrisy is almost theatrical. But Tyrus doesn't stop there. He doesn't rely on polls or scripted sound bites. He calls it like it is: homelessness skyrocketing, crime surging, gas prices crushing. California no longer feels like a dream. It feels like a sentence. And people pay attention because he's not throwing around numbers. He's describing life as it really is. He's not spinning tales. He's delivering truths wrapped in humor and unflinching honesty.
Well, speaking of full of isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is that why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something.
The fallout is priceless. On one side, everyday people nod in relief, grateful someone finally voiced what they've been thinking for years. On the other, critics scramble, spinning excuses, defending Newsom, or dismissing Tyrus as just an entertainer. Here's the kicker. When the guy famous for body slams makes more sense than the governor of the largest state in America, that says it all. Tyrus doesn't need fancy charts or polished speeches. He simply points to the wreckage and calls it like it is. This isn't working. Meanwhile, Newsom keeps selling California as a shining beacon of progress and opportunity. But step off Rodeo Drive for just a moment, and the illusion falls apart. Cracked runways, dimmed lights, and a future that looks like it's barely held together with duct tape and denial.
He's playing with us. Meet me at my house. You get mine. I get yours. It'll work out.
Paul, are they capable of soul searching? It feels like the party itself has no soul.
Yeah, I know, they have no soul. You know, it's a really interesting statement if you just kind of, you can break it in two. He spends the whole first part of that saying, we lost because this. Essentially what he says is, Folks, we run the wrong side of every issue.
Tyrus slices through the glossy illusion like a knife. He isn't impressed by drone shots of beaches or sparkling skylines. He looks straight at what's usually hidden, the tents lining every overpass, boarded-up shops crushed by red tape, and families forced to choose between paying rent or pitching a tent and calling it glamping with benefits. Here's the kicker. If dysfunction were an Olympic sport, California would take the gold. And at the center of it all is the crown jewel of hypocrisy, Newsom himself. There's leading through chaos and acknowledging cracks, and then there's pretending to be untouchable while slipping off to luxury dinners while ordinary citizens can't even grab coffee without rules. He'll stride in and announce, "We're going to fix homelessness." Here's the plan. Bam, 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 done. Yet 5 days later, almost nothing has changed. The border? Unmoved. People stand there like, "No, you go." Everyone avoids the mess. That infamous dinner with lobbyists at a Michelin-starred restaurant wasn't just a scandal, it was a masterclass in arrogance. While Californians were canceling weddings, funerals, and Thanksgiving dinners, he was savoring truffle pasta as if the rules didn't apply to him. Tyrus doesn't let that slide. He brings it up like Exhibit A in a courtroom, the ultimate rules for thee, not for me moment. People don't forget being fined for restrictions their own governor ignored. And hypocrisy doesn't just frustrate, it enrages. Tyrus doesn't invent drama, he paints it so vividly, you can almost see the chandeliers, hear the laughter, and spot the overpriced menu while everyone else stayed home learning sourdough. This wasn't just tone deaf. It was a full-on mockery of the people he was supposed to serve.
I know him very well. He's incompetent. He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody. How you doing? He's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell is his problem. It's a little weird, to be honest. There's a little something shaky going on there.
I came into that recall campaign still arguing that all politics is local. I still had a romantic notion of that. I intellectualized that a lot of our politics and the discourse was national. I didn't fully appreciate how nationalized our politics have become. In so many ways, that shape shifted a lot of what we're doing and who I am today. But this last year, these last 6-7 months, this is something altogether different.
That's what makes Tyrus so effective. He's not just ranting, he's making people laugh while they nod in full agreement. When reality gets this absurd, sometimes humor is the only way to cope. But beneath every joke, he's exposing the truth. California's problems aren't abstract numbers on a chart. They're the daily struggles of millions. Rising crime keeps parents from letting their kids walk home. Gas prices make a simple road trip feel like a financial punishment. Homeless encampments are spreading through neighborhoods that once felt safe. Here's the kicker. It's not about flashy headlines. It's about real people. You can polish speeches endlessly, but results speak louder than words, and California's results are shouting. Tyrus illuminates the cracks no one wants to see, proving that you don't need fancy jargon to tell the truth. All you need is the courage to speak it.
Yeah, his hands are just weird, though, Tyrus. They're always doing funky things.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with the California budget cuts and stuff, since they didn't have a hearing impaired transitioner anymore. I'm not paying money for that. I'll do it.
Tyrus reminds everyone that California still has jaw-dropping beauty and incredible potential, yet somehow it can't even keep the lights on during a heat wave. The state brags about being the world's 5th largest economy, but families are packing up for Arizona just to buy groceries they can actually afford. His straightforward, no-filter style hits because he speaks like the guy you'd run into at a gas station, shaking his head at outrageous prices while muttering about the governor's latest stunt. That's why Californians listen, he sounds like them. They live this chaos every day, and when Tyrus calls it out, it's pure validation. He doesn't just observe the fire. He points at it, laughs, and states the obvious truth. Maybe it's time to stop pretending California is America's shining example. Maybe it's time to admit that the glossy postcard was a lie all along. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for leaders who actually solve problems instead of posing for the cameras.
So, A little bit of bubble.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were the sign person for the TV going,
No, he reminds me there of, remember the guy who did the sign language at Mandela's funeral?
That's why Tyrus's call-out lands like a hammer. This isn't politics, it's reality. No speeches, no filters, just unvarnished truth served with a side of sarcasm and bite. He reminds everyone that no matter how much spin is thrown around, people see what's really happening with their own eyes. Sure, the beaches are still sunny, but you'll pass tent cities just to get there. California still sparkles, but the shine is quickly dulling under the weight of taxes, crime, and chaos. Thanks to Tyrus, the cracks in the illusion are impossible to ignore. He shows that leadership isn't about perfect hair or polished speeches, it's about accountability. Under Newsom, California has been running on vibes instead of vision. The saddest part? No one even flinches anymore. The scandals, double standards, and hypocrisy have become just another Tuesday in the Golden State. When Tyrus unloads, the illusion crumbles entirely. The humor makes the truth easier to swallow, but the sting lingers long after the laughter fades. And here's where it gets compelling. If Tyrus can dismantle Newsom's glossy image with just a few cutting words, what happens when others start speaking up? What happens when the Hollywood gloss finally fades, leaving behind broken promises, empty storefronts, and leaders more focused on branding than people? California may still sparkle on Instagram, but Tyrus peeled back the Valencia filter, revealing a raw, unedited reality that's impossible to ignore. Once the illusion is gone, polished speeches can't rebuild it. Californians aren't buying the fantasy anymore, they're living the reality every single day. Tyrus voices what everyone's been quietly thinking. The dreams are cracked, the mask is slipping, and the truth is out. His blunt honesty hits harder than campaign speeches or press releases because it feels real. And if one voice can shake the golden image this profoundly, imagine what happens when others join in. The cracks spread, and suddenly California isn't a dream, it's a warning. Tyrus didn't create the chaos, he just pulled back the curtain, letting everyone finally see what's been hiding behind it all along.
Well, speaking of full of I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is that why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as...
Here's where it all lands. The illusion is gone, the shine has cracked, and the truth stands fully exposed. Tyrus didn't rewrite California's story. He just read it aloud, page by page, in a way no politician ever could. His blend of humor and hard-hitting honesty slices through the noise, forcing everyone to face what's been ignored for far too long. Newsom can't charm his way out anymore. The photo ops, rehearsed smiles, and magazine cover perfection all crumble under the weight of reality, because now people see it for what it truly is, a polished performance hiding a failing script. That's the brilliance of Tyrus. He doesn't need to shout, he simply speaks the truth, and it echoes louder than any speech. The audience laughs, but deep down, they know it's not a joke. It's reality wrapped in sarcasm. California still calls itself the Golden State, but the gold is thin, and the cracks shine brighter than any polish. Tyrus didn't just roast a governor, he exposed a system running on empty for far too long. And once the truth is seen, it can't be unseen. The stage lights have dimmed, the curtains have fallen, and the spotlight is now on reality. And it's not a pretty sight.